Mrs. Stevens again. I chose The Curious Garden to read today because it feels so much like spring outside today. And we've been reading all about how one person can make a really big difference. And this is the perfect book for that. Okay, so it's called The Curious Garden, and it is written and illustrated by Peter Brown. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. Dreary is a great vocabulary word. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days, while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on such one morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. Here it is, the little doorway. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last things he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited for Liam, or while Liam found better ways of gardening. Here he is singing. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Look, slowly but surely, he's not giving up. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the Curious Garden explored every corner of the railway. And I also noticed that not only is there more color here, but the sky's brightening up. And look at that. I see now he's wearing a scarf, so it must be getting colder outside. I was right. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. I wonder what he's going to find. Winter had taken a toll on the garden. But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. Plants, look at that, made that truck look beautiful again, just in a different way. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. It's covering the stop sign. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Look at all those people that are now out and about. They're not inside anymore. How cool is that? They're on picnics, they're on the lily pads, they're trimming their bushes into animals. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed, but most of all, the new gardens. Liam's favorite was where it all began. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. I knew that didn't sound right. Oh, but look how beautiful. And I think since it said many years later, this is probably grown-up Liam here. So look at that. Liam encouraged the whole city to come out and garden. Hopefully we'll be seeing some nice gardeners here in Delaware with our nice spring weather coming. All right, see you later.